Hey, it's John from Abraxas Precipice. Recently got some questions about the mechanics of the Expanse game, how they kind of play out through the age system and such. A lot of these came from people that are either watching the show or listening to podcasts, and they hear us use terms in the game, but they're not really sure what these things are. They're unique to the age system. They're unique even to the Expanse RPG. So I thought I'd go over that. The first thing off the bat is the dice. The game only uses each system only uses d6s. So here they are, 3d6. Now that's all you need. And the distinct thing though is that one of the dice needs to be different somehow. And sometimes it's bigger. Some people make a different color. Some people, when you have all the same dice, I just say whichever one lands closest to you. But it's called the drama die. Now the drama die is the kind of crux of the die roll. So you roll the dice, you add them all together, you get a total number, you add your modifier. If you beat the number, you succeed. If you don't succeed. However, your degree of success is determined by the number of the drama die. So the higher the number, the better the success. Pretty straightforward. In addition, when a thing you might have heard us talk about is what's called stunt points. Stunt points are where you succeed on a roll. In addition, you roll doubles on that roll, and in doing so, you generate a number of stunt points equal to the drama die. Now, this can only be done on active rolls, so you can't do it if you're like resisting poison or a stamina check to see if a thrust going really fast affects you if you fall and you want to see if you balance or something like that. You can't do it on passive checks, but on active checks, like taking a shot at somebody, trying to sneak past someone, trying to hack into a database, trying to investigate, interrogate someone, all that kind of stuff that's active, you can generate stunt points. And there's a huge list of stunts. It's like several hundred, to be honest. And you can spend those points immediately. It has to be done on that action to enhance that action, get certain elements of it. Maybe make the person like you more. Maybe bypass armor. Maybe shoot the gun out of the person's hand. Maybe use it so you don't just grapple them, but you also like pin the person. There's a bunch of stuff like that can occur with stunt points. It's pretty open-ended. That's all done with just the 3d6, the age system. But then I wanted to move into and actually kind of examine a character sheet. Now, my game, when I play, I don't use the character sheet that Green Ronin has. I think it's an okay sheet, but it doesn't do well at higher scales. Like when you get past like 5th level, it gets too there's too much stuff on it. So I actually use a sheet by a community member, I think it's Banshee, and I thought I'd go through and kind of show you what some of these terms are based on the character sheet and what they kind of mean and such. So let's go ahead and open that up real quick here. There you go. All right, so here we have our sheet. This is a PDF, it's a fillable PDF. Thanks to Odin from the Expanse community for helping me enhance this sheet further. So pretty straightforward. At the top, you have your player's name, you have the character name. That's easy to do. Level, pretty straightforward. The game doesn't really have experience points, but you can level up when you want to. It's generally after an adventure. Currently on Abraxas Precipice, we're level 9. And the game, you get more powerful each level, obviously, but like there's certain things you get and such, but I'm not going to go into detail with all that today. This section over here on the right side is kind of the unique element. So the first thing that's up is origin. Origin is not necessarily where you're from, but the native gravity you have. That is what you grew up under. So the origins are based Earther, Martian, and Belter. And what they reflect more is like what your physical being is, like how tall you are, how if you're squat or if you're thin and tall, based on the native gravity. And what it really does mechanically is to deter that native gravity, whether it's 1G, 1G for Earthers, 0.3G for Martians, or 0.1G for Belters. It determines how far away that you're under thrust you can take. So like if you're too above your gravity level, so like a Belter under 1G, they start having problems. 2Gs gets really bad. Earthers can take up to 2Gs without much issue. After that, it becomes a problem. Martians, 1G is fine unless they have specific training. And there's ways to mitigate that in the game by all means. The next element is social class. So when you're building a character, generally we have people roll for social class, and that's the basis of that is determined by your origin. So Belters are more likely to be lower class, and then Martians are much more egalitarian, so they have a very high chance of being middle class. Both Martians and Belters have the least chance of being high class, or upper class basically. Where Earthers have a decent chance of being upper class, but also have a pretty big lower element as well. Background is kind of what you're, and there's a bunch of these too. You can kind of see there's the different ones here. Background is your kind of where either you grew up under, or what you did early in life. Maybe where you went to school, if you did go to school, or the kind of environment you grew up in, or it could be what your parents did or something to that effect. But it's that kind of formative element of your life. Profession is what you're currently doing. So this is your current job. And I should mention that your social class affects what backgrounds you're eligible for. It's not a hard and fast rule in the game, but generally, if your social class limits what backgrounds you can take, what professions you can have, or kind of skews you towards it. Profession is what you do currently. So this character here is a soldier. They were a lower class Earther. They got in the military and became a soldier afterwards. The soldier could be like private security. It could be a bunch of things. And then drive is your kind of motivation. What the character's kind of like archetype is in terms of how they act, and that gives you some other stuff in the game too mechanically. And you have a quality and you have a downfall, and it's kind of a role playing prompt, if you will. It's kind of a neat little thing, but it's not so solidified in the game. It's not hard. You can mix and match these too. That's one of the cool thing about the age system is that they're all kind of interchangeable. Kind of like in the backgrounds of Dungeons and Dragons, you can interchange elements if you want to, and it'll be equal. The next element here, and this is kind of the core of the game, is these abilities across the board here. And you'll notice that there is 9 of them. There used to be 7, but now there's 9 in the early versions of the age system. And what it is that simply put, dexterity got too powerful. So they had to kind of split dexterity out. So you notice that accuracy is kind of how good you are at throwing things or with ranged weapons. So this would be bows and arrows, pistols, I think throwing grenades under there, using ship weapons if you're using them manually, stuff like that. Communications is how well you kind of talk. It's kind of your charisma type score, how well you relate to people, how well stuff like that too. And I should mention these are on a scale of the starting score is -2 to 3, with a -3 being you're pretty much you can't do that anymore. And 1 is a human average, so one's pretty standard. 2 is above average. 3 is really nice. And these can go up. There's actually no upper limit of these. They can go up as you go up in levels and everything too. So communication though is just how you talk to people, how you relate to them, how you present information, anything interpersonal. Constitution is how tough you are. This can be stuff like stamina is a pretty common one. Other ones in Constitution could be what's the other one? It's tolerance. So how much basically you can drink and basically how much poison you can take. Where stamina is more of how well you can resist gravity and how well you can keep up actions. Dexterity is your agility. This comes up with stuff like acrobatics, but also movement and 0G. This determines how hard you are to hit and also how fast you can move. And we'll cover that here in a second. Fighting is melee. So this is just your grappling, punching, brawling, any kind of melee oriented stuff here, knives, whatever. Intelligence is how smart you are. This governs a lot of skills in the Expanse. This is actually probably one of the most powerful skills in the game. Perception's how well you perceive things, and this is the game's pretty minute. This also includes things like intuition. It can include things like empathy. So there's a lot under perception as well. Strength is your brute force. It comes up handy for stuff like might, so how much you can lift, how much it determines how much damage you do in melee combat, where perception determines how much damage you do in ranged combat. And then willpower. Willpower is your self-discipline or faith, stuff like that kind of keeps you on task, focused, if you will. All right. So that's the abilities. And usually this is a starting character, so they get 12 points to distribute among these, and then they get bonuses. Some of those go up and down, or they go up based on your social class background. So I think the military background enhances your fighting ability, it goes up by 1. That's there's ways to get them up as well besides just leveling up later in the game. Focuses are pretty open-ended here. There is like a list of focuses, but some of them are open-ended. Like the science focuses is actually a bunch of focuses, so like biology, physics, and such. So the way the system works is that you have the 3d6, you roll the dice, you add the relevant modifier. So let's say like this character is going to make a security test. They want to see how like security protocols are like on a station or something, right? To get to assess them. So they would actually roll 3d6, and then they would add 1 to it because that's the intelligence-based focus. It's an intelligence-based skill, and then they get an extra 2 if they have the focus. So in this case, you can see that's why they have +3 here. They have a +3 overall, and you can see it's intelligence-based. You can mix and match these, so you can actually do like security under something else if you wanted to, but generally, like 99% of the time, it's under the same thing. That +2 bonus can go up, but that's at much higher scales in the game, so today. And then focuses are gained by like, you get them as you level up, you get them for your background, you get some random ones too when you're making your background. It's pretty neat, like they kind of come from different places. But this character, as you can see, is very good at pistols, very good at rifles, and then their security is solid too. Like they're good at managing a situation or assessing things. All right, let's see where we are here. Secondary abilities. So secondary abilities are derived, and the first one's speed, which is how fast you can move. So during the game runs in rounds that are 15 seconds long. During a round, you can do a major action and you can do a minor action. And the major action for movement is like run, which would be double your movement. So that would be, in this case, would be 24 meters, where if you did a run and then a walk, you can actually, if you do a full out move, you get 36 meters in that time. You can go pretty damn fast. Defense is how hard you're to hit. This is the number they have to beat to hit you. And then toughness is how much less damage you take when you get struck. And we'll come back to toughness here shortly when we start talking about fortune. And toughness is derived from your constitution total plus your armor. So this character has padded armor, so they have a 1 armor rating. And the armor can get bigger and stuff like that too. And shields are just, if your character's shield just make you harder to hit. It's like a riot shield or something. That's secondary abilities, and these go up if the stats go up. They go up as the game goes on. There's other ways to up them too. Every 4 levels, you can add 1 to your defense, your toughness. You just get inherently tougher. But that's not a big deal right now. Okay. Then going off of other abilities, there's one called income, which is kind of a miscellaneous ability. Income is the game doesn't deal with cash. Like you don't have like so many gold pieces or so many series books or whatever you want to call them. You have your income score. It's a broad thing. Because you're going station to station, because resources are kind of all over the place in the Expanse, it's better to have an abstract idea of the income. And it is an ability. So you roll the 3d6 and add that number to it to see if you can afford something. So like, for example, like a rifle, I think it's a 12 or a 13 to buy a rifle, depending where you are too. Like sometimes it's gonna be cheaper, sometimes it'll be less expensive or more expensive, depending what you're trying to get. So you'd roll the 3d6, add your income score, and if you beat the number, you can get it, you can afford it. However, if the number you're getting, that the number you need to get and you succeed is so much higher than your base income score, it actually permanently drains your income score. So that's a really interesting mechanic. It's kind of a fun mechanic. You can get your income score back. There's also what are called temporary bonuses, which basically is like your income is increased by so much. Usually they work, they're one-time bonuses for like a single purchase or something like that, or they're a bonus that lasts until you fail. And income is kind of fun to play with. It's a fun mechanic in the game, and it can go to negatives. It can go as negative as you want, as high as you want. I think the highest you've had in the game is like 9, which is pretty damn wealthy. And if like like for this character here, like if the item's target number to purchase is only 4 above your income score, it's automatic. You don't have to worry about like losing your income or anything, or rolling for it, as long as it's available, and the like. So it's kind of neat. All right. Let's see here. Where are we at? Let's go back to fortune. So I've been talking about fortune a little bit. Fortune's like the really kind of big element this game does that I really, really like, actually. And so fortune is 2 things in the Expanse RPG. To draw a parallel to D&D, it's kind of a combination of hit points and inspiration simultaneously. So what fortune represents is your luck. How lucky are you? And when you get attacked, for example, or you hit against a wall, you push your luck. And that thing will do so much damage to you. And in this game, if you take 1 point of damage, you're out. Like, you're knocked out. You might be dying, you might just be knocked out, but you're just out of commission somehow. However, you can abate damage 1-for-1 scale by spending your fortune. So if this character was to, say, take like 5 points of damage, let's say, they would mitigate, then let's say they're, I don't know, they get sucker punched by some OPA lad that's trying to prove himself. They take 5 points of damage from the punch, pretty decent punch actually. And they would take 2 less damage, right, from the toughness. So that's 3 more damage. And then they'd have to lose 3 fortune to abate the damage. The other way to abate damage is taking on conditions. And in that way, you can take on the primary ones are injured and wounded. So injured is you roll a d6 and you take that much less damage. However, you're now considered injured. And when you're injured, you have a -1 to all your rolls. All your 3d6 rolls have a -1. It doesn't matter what they are, they're -1. If you have more damage you need to abate, you can take on a wound, which is similar to the injury, and abates the damage by another d6. However, you now have a -2. Now it's unclear in the rules, and I haven't had it entirely clarified one way or the other. But we've been playing it where they're cumulative. So if you have an injury and a wound, you have a -3. Injuries go away pretty quickly. Like you can get rid of one in maybe a day or so. Wounds can take months potentially, depending on how bad they are. They're pretty egregious. And then fortune. The other thing you do with fortune is, besides abate damage, is you can use it to modify your dice roll. So you roll your dice, boom, roll your dice, and you get your result, and you don't care for it, or you need that to be a little bit higher. So what it is you spend, you pick one of your dice, and you say, okay, so like right now I'm looking at the dice, and I have a, let's say I have a 5, a 2, and a 3 on the drama die. Okay, so that adds up to 10. And let's say I need to actually make that like a 11. I need to get an 11 total. So what I can do is I can spend an amount of fortune equal to the number I want to present on the die. So in this case, the lowest number was a 2 on a die. So if I want to push that to a 3 to get the success, I would have to spend 3 fortune. You have to spend an amount of fortune equal to the face value you want. So going from a 1 to a 6, that's 6 points. Going from a 5 to a 6, that's 6 points. You can modify the drama die, but it costs a double. So pushing a drama die to a 6 is 12 points. It's very expensive with fortune. As you can see, the starting character has 15 fortune. Even in our 9th level game, I think the most fortune anyone has is like 45. So you can chew through fortune pretty quick. As I mentioned, fortune's a solid number. The only ways to get higher number than a fortune, besides leveling up, because you only get 3 more fortune per level, is to have a starting ability. Pick your extra starting thing is having 5 more fortune. That's a sacrifice for other things as well. So there have been conditions. These are detailed. I'm not going to go into all of them. Injury and wound are the main ones that we're mostly concerned with. Relationships are kind of neat here too. So you'll see this character has a relationship UNN1. What that means, what a relationship is it can be with different things. It can be with an organization. This would be membership. I'm sorry. Membership. Relationships are like where you have a bond with somebody, like a person. Memberships are where you're part of an organization. So this should actually be membership UNN. And what that means is that if this character ever does something involving the UNN, like they're trying to get a contact, trying to find out some information about them, maybe they're fighting the UNN, they can generate 1 free stump point at any time for that engagement. So in this case, and they can do it once per session. And your membership might be higher. So if you have a membership of 3, you can generate 3 stunt points, and you can use them one at a time, all 3 at once, etc. You can also have relationships with your group, so like your fellow crewmates, and you can even have a relationship with your ship. Having a relationship with your ship actually is pretty handy during space combat, like the pilot might have it. If you want a good example of that, would be someone like Alex in the books has a relationship with the Rocinante. So he'd be able to generate the stunt points on occasion with it. The equipment's pretty abstract. You can see the vac suit's pretty standard. That's why the padding 1 is there. Data pad is your PDA. Character starting gear is basically like vac suit, data pad, and like any tools they have or any kind of skills they have, and including weapons. So this character have rifles and pistols, so they get a rifle and pistol. You can see the damage with the stuff here too. So like the pistol is +4 to hit. That's from their skill total, and then it does 2d6 plus their perception damage, which in this case is 1. And then you get to do 1 extra additional damage if they're in so much range. Rifles do 3d6 base, and then unarmed is 1d3. You can get that higher if you have like martial arts and stuff, but that's not really here nor there. Ammo. The game doesn't really use ammo. It uses this kind of dramatic system where if you roll a hit with a weapon and it misses, and you roll a 6 on the drama die, but you still miss, the weapon's out of ammo. In addition, there's ways for the game master has a resource they can use to like mess with ammo too, which we'll talk about maybe in another session. I might talk about it here a little bit at the end of it too, but I want to do several game master stuff. The last thing here is what's called talents. So these are talents. These are analogous to feats in D&D. Basically, they're specializations or special things you can do, little bonus things you can do that no one else can do unless they have the talent. In this case, they have pistol style, which is they do a +1 damage with pistols at 6 meters or less. So basically, they're a gunfighter. Tactical awareness, you can attack while moving. Normally in this game, you have to move then attack, or attack then move. This lets you start moving a little bit, then attack, and then keep on moving. Then protect is they call that blockade stunt, which basically means you get between a friend and someone else, and normally it has to be within 3 meters. This lets it be 6 meters, so you can basically run over and help someone out. But yeah, there's that's kind of the basis of the character sheet and everything. The other mechanic I get asked a lot about is the churn. So I thought I'd talk about the churn real quick. The churn is this kind of, it's called like a heat mechanic, so it goes up as the game kind of progresses. It starts at 0 when the game begins. But it'll stay at the same number as long as we're on the same adventure, kind of same arc. And what it does is it goes up on certain conditions. So it goes up if the players end a scene. It goes up if they succeed on a significant challenge, they overcome a challenge. It goes up if they succeed a roll and they roll a 6 on the draw die. It goes up if they utilize more than, I think it's 4 more stunt points on a single roll. There's a few other ways it can go up too, but that's the primary way it goes up. And then what happens is when it hits 10, 20, and 30, there's churn events potential. So at 10 and 20, you roll, I think even 32, but I'm not sure if it's 30. I think 30 might be automatic. But you roll the 1d6, someone rolls it. If it comes up high, it's the lesser churn event. So like on a churn 10, a 4, 5, or 6 is just like nothing happens, no churn event. On a 1 through 3, it's a minor event. On the 20 churn, a 4, 5, or 6 is a minor event, where a 1, 2, and 3 is a major event, and then at the 30 mark, it's a epic event. And there's kind of guidelines for the thresholds that these like do, but minor stuff is just like stuff people forgot about, and it can be something like maybe someone realizes like it can happen on camera, it can happen off camera. Sometimes it's like someone just realized you screwed them, or those guys were jerks. Now that I think about it, they were jerks. It could be, my favorite example was the time when they disarmed this trap. This bomb was rigged in the airlock. They disarmed the trap, no problem. Went through the airlock, did their stuff for an hour or so, and we had a churn event. And so when they came back to the airlock, they didn't know what happened with turn events. Sometimes I like making it not present. They'll find it out later. So something's going on. They go back to the airlock, and there they totally forgot to lock down the bomb, and they can see that it's kind of bouncing around the airlock. So they had to figure out a way past that. So it's stuff like that, and that's a minor one. They're not there to be abusive. They're there to have those little elements that you forget about in space. So the turn's kind of a fun mechanic. People like it. Our audience loves seeing it go up or down. During the live show, you can spend the channel points to up it or lower it. I have to remember to keep that active this time too. But yeah, that's kind of the nutshell of the character sheet and the gameplay. It's really simple. There's other things like advanced tests, which are basically like you make the test, but then there's a threshold of success. And so the idea is that the threshold of success is like 10. So each player makes a roll contributing to the challenge however they need to. But they have to beat the number. In addition to beating the number, whatever they get on the drama die abates that threshold until that threshold's 0. Then the thing is successful. But usually there might be some time stuff on that. They have to finish it so much time. And if they don't succeed on a roll, there might be things that impede them. That might make the next rolls harder until someone takes a turn to try to abate that issue. So there's a bunch of cool little mechanics here and the like. But that's kind of the gist of the Expanse. I'll put some. I hope this helps out people. I hope this gets you guys like more understanding of what we're doing when we talk about certain things. I know that mechanics in role-playing games can be very like opaque looking, and some people are open to that. I think this game is very simple. It's very. I try to run system light, and you can also do this very crunchy if you want to. By all means, I really. But hey, thanks for hanging out and checking out the this whole video here. I'm going to put this on the podcast as well. You can find everything Abraxas Precipice at linktree/Abraxas Precipice. I kind of dropped the E. But we hope I hope this was informative, and I hope this gets you some understanding of what goes into the game and how the Expanse role-playing game operates. All right, see you guys all later. Take it easy.